Hello and welcome to Chasing Creativity. This is Kiran Mandral, and today I have a very special guest with me, Kulpreet Yadav, who's a dear friend who has been an ex-commandant. Am I saying that right? Commandant?
Commandant is absolutely right.
He's been an ex-commandant of the Indian Coast Guard, and he's commanded 3 ships. Then he took retirement and he decided to get into the creative field, which is a very unusual choice. And I've known him since then, since the time he got his first book out. I think that was over 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
No, the first book came out, in fact, 18 years ago.
18 years ago.
There was a gap in between.
Okay, so a little after that. And it's fascinated me, Kulpreet, how the courage that it must have taken to, jump ship, so to speak, and to get into the creative space where there's absolutely no certainty of income or certainty of anything.
Yeah.
So what made you decide, all of a sudden that, okay, I'm done with this part of my life and I want to go and write books and be a creative person and be now an actor and an entrepreneur and a director and all sorts of various things that you are now.
Yeah. No, thank you very much, Kiran. First of all, pleasure to be here. It's really so amazing to be meeting and speaking to you in Mumbai. So I've actually taken a natural course, because when I joined the Defence Services because my father was in the Defence Services, he was in the Air Force. My grandfather was in the Royal Indian Army.
Okay.
And for me to join Defence Services was a natural choice because I was motivated by seeing all these people around me. And also the fact that I hail from Haryana and, Haryana, Punjab, most of the people end up joining
the forces. Yeah, that's right.
And thereafter, when I quit my service after about working for 23 years, by the time I'd written 2 books.
Mm-hmm.
And these books had not done that well, but somehow I was, I got attracted towards storytelling.
So you were a reader, I'm supposing, a very voracious reader.
I was, yes.
And you still are, of course. But while you were in the services, you were writing these books parallelly, like something on the side. Was that what was happening and you're taking time out to write these books?
No, so when I started my journey as an officer, at that time I was not writing, I was just a reader.
Okay.
But after completing, my book came out when? It came out in 2006. That was my first book. So by that time I had done about 15 years of service because I joined in 1991. So I was till that time a reader. I was also a very junior officer. Initially you go into training and you do junior appointments and you are under pressure to perform and there are professional subjects that you need to learn. So the time also was very less for me to read or do anything else. It is only when I became senior after about 15 years of service and I had leisure of more time and more reading. And then this thought came to me and a story occurred to me one day and I thought I must write that story down. And until that point, I was not aware that I'm ever going to be a writer.
Okay.
So this is, I don't even know how to describe it, but this is some upar wale se kuch aaya something, and it
the
just
best
happened.
The best way.
The best way. So I wrote 10,000 words for my first book, which I was very excited about and I thought it was great. And the first reader, of course, became my wife because, that's what wives do.
And that's not this wife.
So she was, I'm very fortunate to have a wife who read my book,
absolutely
10,000 words. And she said, it's good. And that kind of gave me an encouragement to finish the book. And then few people read the book, relatives, friends, officers, and they also encouraged and they said it was good. And actually, I think when I look back now, I think all of them were lying. Because when I look at that book right now, it is very ordinary. I mean, lying is probably a wrong word. But when people love you too much, then they're not able to see fault in what you do. So it was their love which was kind of making them see more than the talent that I had. But had that not happened, I probably would not have gone in this journey and written so many books. So for that, I'm grateful.
So that was the right encouragement at the right time.
It was right, yeah. You nailed it better, yeah.
So you wrote your first 2 books, and what were the first 2 books about?
First 2 books, I don't really want to talk about them because they were very ordinary books. When I look back now, at that time I was of course very excited.
It's okay. All our first books are terrible. We look at them in cringe and we think that how did this ever get published? Yeah, thankfully they're out of print and people can probably blackmail us now by threatening to release them again.
Yeah.
But tell us a bit about what the themes were, what it was about, and how you researched those initial books because you have no background in creative writing.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm very curious about how, was it instinctive? Did you learn? Did you train yourself? How did you go about writing these
I think
books?
it was completely instinctive. I had spent a lot of time reading thrillers, crime thrillers, military thrillers, espionage thrillers, romantic thrillers.
Okay.
When I was younger, I started this when I was in school. And also I continued that in my college and my, officer days. And I already had some kind of instinctive sense of storytelling, which I did not know. Maybe subconsciously, I was absorbing all this. And when the time came, I wanted to write, the story that came to me was a thriller. So it was pretty much similar to the genres that I was very comfortable with. You were reading,
yes.
And I wrote that book. The first one was a thriller. It was an espionage thriller. And the second one was action adventure with a little bit of romance weaved in. So that's how these two books were. They did very mediocre business. They were from small presses. And I wrote another book which was not accepted. Then I wrote one more book. Then I got into a stage where I thought probably, I'm just trying to think I can be a writer, but actually I really do not have the talent. So for 4-5 years, I did not write. I was reading short stories. I started a magazine. I wrote more short stories, quite a few of them. They were all rejected by everybody that I sent to for 3-4 years. And I was more focused on international magazines. Then I started my own magazine, which I ran that with a lot of passion for 5 years. We had an international team of people working with us, and I spent a lot of money also. And by doing that, I think it gave me a little more understanding, allowed me a little more understanding in storytelling. And then I started writing, I think, a little better books. And then, obviously, I started finding better agents and better publishers and now more readers. So it's been a journey which is now, I think, in the 19th year.
19th year, and how many books down?
15.
15 books.
15 books, yeah.
That's a wonderful journey. 15 books in 19 years is very commendable, Gulpreet.
Yeah, thank you very much. But I think 3 of them are actually self-published ebooks. One is a collection of short story, which is not done well at all. None of these other books have done well. And I also have a motivational book, which is probably is an astronomical failure. I'm not able to easily find that book on internet myself. What about other people?
That's very motivating.
Yeah, that's motivating.
Yeah. But you had great successes also. You had books which have done very well and which have really left their mark. And I know of this because I hear people talking about these books. Yeah, so tell us about this shift that you made. It's not only a shift in books, it's also a complete shift in genres. You went into a completely different space with these books. So what prompted you? You've done espionage, you've done spy thriller. And now this is a new world completely. New world in the sense you have been in the forces and you know about all that. I mean, you're familiar with that territory, so to speak. Yeah. But this is real stories, real life, real incidents. So what made you go into that?
So the first non-fiction that I did was called Queens of Crime, which I did with Bollywood actor Sushant Singh. And that was, of course, a new space because I had not done true crime. Of course, for Sushant, he's been doing this for a very long time, but he was doing it on TV.
On television.
He came into the writing medium, which was also different for him. But I think true crime at the core of any true crime story is a very strong thriller element. So which is always, intrinsic to storytelling of a true crime story. So that part was known to me as a reader and also as a writer in the past. I think that helped me. But more than that, I think the research part was something that I was doing for the first time. So meeting people, understanding the police procedures, going through the court cases, the judgments, understanding how the legal world works, and how the police, investigation takes place, how they document things, and all that took a little bit of time in reading. I bought some books, non-fiction books by Indian writers, international writers, read them. So it took a little longer for me to write Queens of Crime. But once it did well, then it gave me more confidence that now I can do research and write. So I thought, why not do research in a space that I'm more familiar with, which is military. So the first story that I wanted to write was Battle of Rizangla. Battle of Rizangla was fought in 1962 in Ladakh, and it was fought by 13 Kumaon, which is a battalion. And it was 13 Kumaon, it's called Kumaon Battalion, but all these 13 Kumaon is 100% Haryanvi, South Haryanvi
Okay,
people.
that's interesting.
It's all, And they all belong to my community.
So that's how you knew of, you're familiar with this?
I was familiar with this, with these people, because almost every village in South Haryana has got people who've been martyred in this particular battle. And the women sing songs, there are temples and there are memorials in the villages made by the villagers themselves. Sometimes the family is maintaining it, sometimes the, sarpanch of the village and the, panchayat is investing some money in daily upkeep of these memorials. And there is a kind of a subculture and a celebration of these warriors for what they did and how they saved Ladakh. But all through my childhood in school and college and also in the defense services, nobody actually had any clue about Battle of Rizangla.
Yeah. I hadn't heard of it until your book, and that's when I read it.
There's not even a single book on this.
Yeah, topic. I read or mentions, you hear about certain battles and certain incidents that have happened, but this was like completely new territory.
Absolutely. And when I thought that I should, the thought came to me that, okay, nobody's written this story, but this is a true story. And Indian Army knows that this is one of the best fought battles. And out of 120 Jawans who were defending, along with Major Shaitan Singh, 110 of them chose to stay there and fight and save Ladakh. And it got saved. And there was a ceasefire the very next day. And we still have that region. So I thought, why not write about this story? Because initially I was thinking that this is too big a story for me to tell, to be honest. I knew about this story all along. But I was writing other books, and when I was writing the other books, I was not knowing that probably at some level, all these books were in some way preparatory for me to come to this stage where I can write this book. So when I proposed this to my publisher, they were very excited about it, and I sent them a pitch of 5,000 words, and I said, this is the book that I'm going to write. And I'm very emotional about the story, and this is a true story, and they liked it, and they said, okay, we will go ahead. And I wrote that book, and though I have worn white uniform, but I'm not an army officer. And I was very skeptical because I was writing about army maneuvers in 1962. And it is a familiar territory in certain ways, but only uniform wearing and maybe parade. But otherwise, all the weapons and the strategic maneuvers and the artillery and all this world is not that well known to me. So I had to do a lot of research and meet a lot of army officers. And also I wanted to write an authentic book. And long story short, the book came out in 2021 September, and very quickly it became my largest selling book, and we've had several print runs. And then the Government of India noticed, and National Book Trust has done a Hindi edition of it. And now there are other language editions people are talking about, and film is also going to be made soon.
Wonderful.
So that is how Battle of Rizangla happened.
When you're writing about something as important and historical, but something that has not been spoken about in public consciousness, there is always a sense of responsibility.
Yes, absolutely. You nailed it.
You can't misrepresent anything.
Absolutely.
So how did you go about, what were your checks and balances while writing this book? Because you have to be objective. You have to have your facts in place. You have to do your storytelling in a certain order.
Yes.
So just take us through a little bit of your process.
Yeah, brilliant question, Kiran. That weight of responsibility was there. And I wanted to write a book which is authentic, and it's a final book of this battle because no one else has written. All the 1962 books, there are dozens of them I've read. They are all great books by great writers, but the focus has always been on Arunachal Pradesh, and that area, and Nepal and other parts of 1962. And the mention of Rizangla is only 1 page, 1.5 page, except 1 or 2 books which has got 3 or 4 pages.
Okay.
So there's very little information available. So for me, it took me almost 2 years I was only researching. So I started by meeting the survivors. We had 4 survivors at that time. They were living in their villages. I went and spent time with them, recorded their first, accounts of their own. They were very young at that time because now they're in late 80s, early 90s. So some of them are very old. They're not that coherent. But
memories must have also faded.
Memories also, and they've been speaking this story all this while from 62. Some changes might have taken place, but they are the survivors of the war. Their views are important. I spent a lot of time with them, and that was a great experience. Then there is a Ministry of Defense official account, which is pretty detailed.
Okay.
So that became a very good, important reference point for me. And 13 Kumaon Battalion at that time when I was researching, fortunately for me, was at that time located in New Delhi.
Okay.
So I reached out to the commanding officer and I went and met him. And I said, this is what I'm writing, and I would like to have your, war diary. War diary is a restricted document which is written by pen in any battle by the battalion.
Okay.
So he said, I don't know where it is, but if we have, because, I'm not sure whether we weed it out or not weed it out. If it is there, we'll make a committee and try to look for it, search, and if it is there, we'll call you. So after a week, he called me up and he said, sir, he's junior to me in service because of the length of service. And in services, people are very respectful and very nice. And he said, sir, we've been able to find the war book. So we had a leather bound, fraying at the edges, almost, moth-eaten, weather-beaten kind of a look, leather diary, but the pages were nicely preserved inside.
Lucky.
So I was able to read all that. I was able to get map, though the Ministry of Defense account was also there, but here's another, corroboratory, I don't know how to pronounce that. Corroboration I was able to do along with this. Then there were, of course, a lot of books in which, as I said, 1 page, 2 page. Then there are a lot of interviews, there are a lot of, journals, military journals, like USI Military Journal, IDSA. These journals have got, some people have written about 1962 war, survivors, other people from other battalions who were at that time fighting in 62 war, and they had some information. And last but not the least, one of the best accounts that I found was by Captain Amrinder Singh.
Okay.
The ex-Chief Minister of Punjab. He's a great military historian. I'm a huge fan. And he has a book called Lest We Forget.
Okay.
So Lest We Forget is I think it's out of circulation now, but I was able to lay my hands on that book. And in that book, there's a chapter which is about 30 pages. And that's on Battle of Rizangla. And there are other lesser known battles in that book, and immense amount of research that he's done. Probably 20 or 25 years after the war. So all the information is fresh there compared to what it is now. And certain other references. So after getting reference from all these places, I was able to, wherever I thought this information may not be accurate, I was able to, check it from another reference point. And once I had all the material with me, then I started writing it down.
What made you think, of course, this was a very pivotal war, so to speak, and we do not yet, I think, know the importance of it and what it has given our country. But was there anything personal apart from the fact that, you knew the survivors and you knew the families?
Yes.
Was there any personal motivation for you to take up the story?
Yes, there were two, soldiers who were martyred in this battle who were distantly related to me.
Okay.
So I thought, here is the story of these warriors who chose to lay down their lives, and outside their village, nobody knows their story.
Okay.
And if I can become that medium to let all other Indians know about this valor of these Indians, so I will be doing a great service to their memory of their sacrifice. So that was another factor for me.
Lovely. And with the Battle of Rizangla, you took a complete shift into non-fiction, I think. You haven't written fiction since, have you?
No, I have. So my book, which came out next year, last year, 2023, was with Mr. Vijayendra Prasad.
Okay, that's fiction.
Yeah, that's historical fiction.
Historical fiction. A new genre completely again.
A completely new genre, but I'm someone who's been, as I said, military is something that I'm interested in. Then this particular book is about a battle. Though this battle took place in the 16th century. And I found the story very fascinating, which has been originally written by Mr. Vijayendra Prasad. And I happened to meet him, and he proposed that we should write a book together on the story that he had written. And I liked it. And I chose to, be with him and become his disciple, because he's such a huge, person, and he was very kind enough to become my mentor. And that's how this historical fiction book called Brahmaputra, which is about the Ahoms, Ahoms versus Mughals. So the context is true, the characters are true as for any historical fiction, but we have changed the dynamics, the family dynamics and the forces dynamics to create a story which is more interesting.
So you've done historical fiction, now you've done real military stories, you've done true crime, you've done espionage, thriller. What's next?
So I'm doing another military non-fiction, which is going to be coming out in August this year. It's called The Battle of Haji Pir.
Okay.
So if Battle of Rizangla was an unknown or lesser known battle from 62 war, Battle of Haji Pir was a lesser known battle from 1965 war.
Okay.
Between India and Pakistan in Kashmir.
Okay.
POK. So that's a very inspiring battle about which a lot of people do not know. And someone had proposed, given this idea that I should write this book, and I did more research on it, and I found it very interesting. So it has taken me almost 2 years, and the book will be coming out in August on Haji Pir Day.
Oh, wonderful.
And what I'm researching right now is about the 1857 Gadar.
So,
1857 ka Gadar. First war of independence.
Wonderful. So that's going even further back in history. No, you've done the Brahmaputra, which is further than that. But So when you're writing historical, I mean, of course, the Brahmaputra is historical fiction. As you say. And now the Gadar, which you will probably be doing, will be not fiction, but it'll be a historical book.
It'll be historical non-fiction,
yeah. When you're doing fiction, historical fiction with wars and with revolts and all this, and when you're doing your the non-fiction, does the storytelling change for you? How does it impact the storytelling? Because these are very different kinds of genres. I mean, they're in the same space, but one you have to fictionalize a certain way while remaining true to the era. At the others, you cannot take liberties at all.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. So the short answer is that when you write historical fiction, the research part is relatively easy because you need to fictionalize a lot of things. You just need to understand the culture, the clothes people wear, the festivals they celebrate, and their family dynamics and hierarchical structure, etc. What kind of bombs, what kind of armaments, basic maneuvers. And you can go wrong. It's not a problem. So the research part is lesser. But to make the story very absorbing, very compelling, you need to write well, which means you need to take a lot of time to write.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the case of a historical non-fiction, you need to spend a major amount of time on research. Because research itself will be so detailed because you can't go wrong that it will automatically become into a story. So your writing becomes much easier and shorter. And people will read historical non-fiction because they want to learn, not want to get entertained.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's more informative in nature.
Okay.
It's not entertaining. But a historical fiction has to be entertaining and gripping.
Okay.
Because people already know that this is false.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you got to make it very interesting.
So you have to make that reading a compelling reading.
Very compelling.
A page turner, so to speak.
Yeah. Yes.
Kulpreet, now from writing, you have also gone into acting.
Yes.
What pushed you towards this space?
So just like writing, I had never planned for it. I was not even aware that I want to be a writer till the point came when I wrote my first book. So similarly, the same thing happened with acting. I never considered myself as an actor. I don't consider myself as an actor even today.
Mm-hmm.
It is just by the confidence given by others. How it started was, I always wanted my books to get adapted into a short film or a feature film or a web series. And for several years, this was happening in the sense that production companies were buying the rights. It's happened with you several times. They'll give you some small amount of advance and you're very happy about it. And now a big production company has your book and it's probably going to be converted into web series stroke film. And that happened with me a few times. But then actually, they did not convert. So the rights lapsed and I sold it to other people and all that happened. So I was very frustrated with this experience because you're so near, of seeing your book getting adapted into audiovisual story, but it was not happening. So I was just having a word with another retired officer friend of mine who lives in Mumbai, and he's got a lot of connections in Bollywood. And I said, "Yaar, pata nahi, people are not making a film, and I'm getting more and more frustrated. And I'm in Delhi, and what can I do?" And he's junior to me, and he's very good friend. And he said, "Sir, aisa karte hain, we will make."
How sweet.
I said, "But how will we make a film on a book, because we don't know how to make it one. And more importantly, we don't have the kind of money that is required to make a film." And he said, "No, let's make a short film. Not on your book, but on any of the short stories that you've done. And let's make a 10-minute, 15-minute short film and see where it goes." And we chose to go on that path, and we invested our own money and we went to Lonavala and we started shooting. And when we were planning for all this, we hired people, we made a team, and we did not know how to do this. So everything was costly, hiring people, equipment, etc. And we started cutting down money wherever we could. So one of the first things was actors. Actor nahi lete. So he gave me this idea. He said, actor nahi lete, sir, acting to main aur aap kar lenge. So this was a conversation that we were having, and I was completely shocked. And he said, yaar, ऐसे कर लेते हैं, मतलब पिक्चर भी बना लेते हैं, एक्टिंग भी कर लेते हैं, मजाक हो रहा है क्या? इट्स पॉसिबल ही नहीं है, मैं तो एक्टर हूँ नहीं, आई डोंट नो हाउ टू एक्ट. So he said, Leni sir, who told you you're not an actor? I know you for the last 25 years and I'm from the partly from the film industry, and I vouch for it, and you'll be able to do a good job. So that's how I ended up acting in the film, which I made with my own money. Okay. And I think I did a very bad job at it. And halfway through, like we're having this conversation, halfway through, everybody's looking at me, and I told them, stop, let's pack up and go, because I don't think I'm doing a good job. And they were all shocked. And I was the eldest among all these people, oldest. So they looked at me and they said, sir, why are you saying this? You're doing a good job. And just because they were saying this, and I couldn't have been, unkind or, whatever, not bad to them. So I thought, let me at least complete this film and see where it goes. And I ended up shooting that film. And later on, I told my partner, isko delete kar dena, bahut bekar hai. So he said, nee, give me some time and let me see what I can do. And he went to an editor and was edited. And when he sent a snippet of what we had shot, it wasn't very bad. So then it was converted to a full film, and it was released by a platform, and several people saw it, and a lot of people sent messages to me, particularly the ones who were not known to me, that you do have a screen presence and you should be able to take this as an alternate career. And that is how I ended up sending my short videos of introduction and photographs to some of these leading casting companies in Mumbai. And I said, chalo theek hai, log mere ko pata nahi ullu bana rahe, kya kare, let's see. And these people started sending, how they do, casting companies, they send you a script and for whatever requirement they might have, and you have to make audition at home. And I ended up making auditions, and the success rate was very high. That gave me more confidence that probably I am able to do, because sometimes we don't know what we're capable of ourselves, So one thing led to the other, and now in the last 2 years, to cut the long story short, I think I've done about 20 acting assignments in the last 2 years. Films, web series, short films. I've also been cast in a primary role in a Malayalam film of all things.
Wonderful.
And a beautiful Malayalam film, a great story. And I'm very proud to be associated with them. I've done almost 15 to 18 days of shoot for that film, which will be releasing next year.
And that's not a language you're familiar with. So how did you manage?
So I was asked to memorize the lines, which I, spent many hours to memorize all through the night. And I came to the set only to realize that I've forgotten everything.
So did they have to paste like placards in front of you when you were writing your dialogue?
But I think after some time, and after they gave me some decent amount of encouragement from them and a few cups of coffee, I was able to recall. And they also were kind enough to explain to me the meaning of those words, because I'm supposed to make those expressions and gestures and body movements, etc. And I think I've done an okayish job in speaking the language. Of course, my voice will not be there, because Malayalam language also has got certain way of saying it. So I will never get the accent right unless I live there for probably 50 years. So someone else will be doing the dubbing, but I think my lip movement should be
synchronized.
I work very hard for it, yes.
Wonderful. And when does this release?
This will be releasing in next year, mid of next year. This is called Kathanar. Kathanar. It's a local Christian legend from 7th century.
You've done acting now. You've written your books. You've shifted course completely. Is there something else that you want to try that you haven't tried yet?
I want to try a lot of things, honestly. I'm also co-founder of 2 startups, and they're doing very well. One is a legal tech company called World Law Alliance. It's headquartered in Greater Kailash, Delhi. We have a team of 15 people. We were in London last month for about 3 days. We had an international conference. We're going to Singapore in February. So that's, I've got a great team there. I've got 2 more directors who, allow me to do what I want and go there only once in a week or once in 10 days. I'm also co-founder of a company called Disha Kiran, which is an education technology company that's headquartered in Gurgaon. And that is doing very well right now. I mean, we've been there for 3-4 years, but we're just about to grow. We've got some nice contracts, and I'll be talking about it on LinkedIn. I also want to start certain brands and do some business, because it's a great opportunity. Internet is there, and there's artificial learning, machine learning, artificial intelligence, so many things, blockchain. It's a time for great opportunities to do a lot of stuff. And I feel very jealous that I'm 56 now. I should have been 36. Probably I could have done a lot more.
I mean, 56 is like the new 40 now. We are all living till we are 100 anyway. So lots of time.
That's true. So बहुत कुछ करना चाहता हूँ और मेरे को लगता है कि all this is possible, but of course time is limited and you got to take a rest and So I'm not very ambitious in doing what I'm doing. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do the things that I'm doing to the best of my ability with as much honesty as possible and not really that much bothered about the results because I'm secure in every which way, financially and socially, family-wise, and all my responsibilities are over. So I don't have to really worry about the end result, start a business, whether I'll be able to make too much money or not. That's not my priority. I want to do something because I want to prove to myself that it can be done and it can be done well. And of course, whatever follows from there.
Lovely.
Yeah. But I may not do any other business, by the way. I'm just saying because I want to do, but there is no time. And I'm also, by the way, an extremely lazy person. I would like to get up aram se. I hate early morning flights. I hate early morning meetings or late evening
How are you ever in the forces, Gulpreet?
I did this for 23 years, getting up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
Exactly.
Whoever calls me or even when I would travel myself, I never take a flight which is before 10 a.m. or 9:30. It was only yesterday when I was traveling, I probably took a flight which is at 9 a.m. But otherwise never before 10 a.m. or after 4 p.m. It's always between this slot so that I can get up aram se, go to the airport aram se and go. So I want to lead a very easy, relaxed life. Do what I do with honesty. And I think any work honestly done will definitely find buyers and success.
Looking forward to see what you do, Gulpreet, with your new ventures. And I think your story is so inspiring because not only have you shifted paths completely, but you're enjoying yourself, which is most important. You're doing stuff that interests you, that enjoys yourself, and it's so inspirational.
Thank you so much.
I hope everybody who's watching this knows that, there's a second innings always, and you can always change paths anytime. Just as Gulpreet said, do it honestly with enjoyment and have fun while doing it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming for this.
Most welcome, Kiran. I had such a great time, and all the best to you also for your forthcoming books.
Thank you so much.